All right, let's bring it back in. Okay, hopefully that was the beginning of an interesting conversation that you'll be able to continue through the day, and we'll hope to have a lot more such conversations. But congrats, you guys just earned yourself a Protocol Watcher badge. So Timber will point out where you can grab a badge later, but we tried to actually make this a badge you could have fun wearing in the real world. And I've been trying this for the last 2 days, and it's actually fun. People look at it strangely because it's not a normal, promote something kind of badge. If you wear this badge and go and like stand around in public somewhere and look at something protocol-ish and like just act curious about it, people come up to you and ask, and what are you looking at? So there's a nice little conversation starter. Kind of like, if you had a bird watch your badge. So grab a badge, and a challenge for you is try this. Wear it in public and go protocol watching and see if somebody comes up and talks to you. If you do find that, take a picture of that protocol, maybe a selfie with that person, post it on our Discord, and join our community. We actually have a very active Discord with a channel called Protocol Watch where people just post interesting protocols that they spot around. That's the invite QR code if you'd like to join. OK. So that's the agenda for today. Learn
everything, all development finance, which needs massive transparency, where this seems to me, as someone that's new to this space, like the right blockchain to build on top of. So I just wanted to see if you've thought about it in any way.
Yeah, so from a personal perspective, I'm trying to do one thing and do it extremely well. And so I'm very focused on specifically American traditional finance. I think there's massive, massive opportunity in the global standpoint. And I think that you're right, like in some of these markets, the selling point of what you get out of an actual neutral programmable blockchain is much more apparent. And I will admit, if I'm having a conversation and trying to convince somebody of the value of Ethereum over the past 8 years, if they like refuse to kind of get it and they're like, everything's actually like fine, I don't know why I need this, I do throw my hands up in the air and say, well, if you lived in Venezuela, I think you might. And so, which is me kind of throwing in the towel, but it's also representative of the kind of like neutral trust components of being able to architect protocols on top of Ethereum. There is a deep value proposition in places where trust is a scarce resource.
One more back there.
So I've been living here in Buenos Aires for 2 years now, kind of as a surprise. I came here, and I was confronted by a giant crypto scene here from all the OGs from 2013 and 2017, all of whom are really important for the space. And a lot of what they say is that a lot of it is, or a lot of governance is actually not transparent. But in the US, we have a sort of maybe fiction, maybe reality about transparency, about all levels of governance are transparent. And I want to know, like in this new world where we're moving, where it's like immutable, transparent, everybody can see it, what does that do to the layer of governance that needs to be not transparent? Or is that necessary?
What is the layer of governance that needs to be not transparent?
Whether that matters, like what, because so in Argentina, there's a lot of things that get done that nobody knows. And in the US, a lot of things get done that nobody knows about. What are those parts to this, and how does that work in a decentralized governance world?
Yeah. And I guess maybe less about governance in the abstract, but just like about the coordinated behaviors on blockchains. I mean, a huge component of what we've seen in the past week is a dialogue around privacy. And when I'm thinking about rewiring the plumbing of a traditional market onto Ethereum, I have to be guided by the principle of this market needs to be have the same properties of privacy that the market currently has, or it's kind of a non-starter. Privacy is table stakes. And so I think we do have the tools with applied cryptography to architect the world as it is today onto Ethereum. It does, I will say that anytime you architect private things on top of a public blockchain, you get a lot of great benefits, but you also do reduce the immediate ability to coordinate around it and the immediate ability to act upon information about it. I can prove things to you about something that privately happened on a blockchain, so we can act upon that information. I can premise other programmatic behaviors and things upon that information, but at the same time, I don't get it for free. But at the same time, the world is not going to entirely move on to blockchains without being able to encode privacy into them. So I don't have a deep answer in relation to governance, but I will say privacy is requisite for building bridges into the real world. And at the same time, it makes coordinated behaviors and protocols more complex, for sure.
Yeah, I was just struck right now by the irony that cryptography originally started in the most secret of worlds, like spies and deep state tradecraft. Then it created the most public of technologies, which is blockchains, and now it's going right back to what you're asking. Essentially, is how can blockchains bring crypto back to the world of spies in a way? So it's kind of funny. But thank you, Danny, for making the time and kicking us off here. And we hope you enjoy the books that we published in the last 3 years.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And
one more?
do we have time for one more, Kimber?
It's
right,
short.
one more. Let's do
Maybe
one
I
more.
missed it on the slide, Venkat, but you talked about the age of protocolization. How much of that is just the proliferation of the internet and software into the existing world?
So if you look at the Google Trends of the word protocol, it starts actually in the late 70s, so before the internet, but it does peak around 2000 with internet protocols, then it goes into a plateau. I have the graph in one of my other slides, but then it again has an uptick with crypto. So I would say that protocolization as a frame of the world started with the 1970s wave of automation and factory automation. That's probably where it started. But yeah, we are now, I would say, in the third mini age of protocolization. Industrialization, internet, crypto, I would say. Yeah. All right, so let's see who's up
Thank
next.
you so much.
Oh, wait. Who's up next, Kimber?
Is this thing on? Okay. Has anybody else switched over to Argentina time? I'm finding like 10 a.m. is, I'm starting to wake up now. Okay. This is a new word on my slides. Okay. My name's Timber. I help run Summer Protocols with Venkat and Josh and Tim and a few other people. And today I'm here to talk to you about a couple tools that I think are really great for ecosystem diplomats or protocol diplomats. But first, 4 diplomats log into a Zoom room, one from Canada, one from France, one from Argentina, and one from Germany. And the host is having some issues with their camera. And he asks, "Can you guys see me?" They say, "Yes, we see ya." You're going to have to be better at jokes than I am to be a good diplomat. Okay, second thing, since we've got a bit of a game room vibe in here, what tools did diplomats historically bring with them when they went on diplomatic missions to other countries? I put 6 here. I think that they're all one word. If you have any ideas, just go ahead and shout it out. I'll tell you if you're right. I couldn't get the animation to work, so they'll all come up at the same time after. A gift? Yep, that's one of them. Diplomatic immunity, kind of one of them, definitely. I'll talk about that in a bit. What was that? Translators, yep. No guns. They're attaché, yep. Okay. So all these things, and I'm surprised that none of the cypherpunks got cipher. I think that was a really important one. Diplomatic delegations had to send messages back encrypted, and now we can do that. Basically all of this with our phones, with the exception of GIFs. One thing that protocol diplomats do not have is legal immunity, so you can still get parking tickets, unlike a real diplomat. And protocol diplomats and ecosystem diplomats have a different job than regular ones. They have different tools. You don't have legal immunity. You have all the things that regular diplomats do now on your phone. You don't have to pay a translator. You don't have to pay as much for security. You have basically a bunch of advisors in your pocket for scientific matters. And today I'll teach you how to use two, which some diplomats use, but I think they're particularly relevant for you guys. One for the shape rotators among you, one for the word cells. I think this provides a complete set for whatever your skill set is. So let's get into them. The first one, you've seen this word come up a few times. I might be like the head of Coinbase and come up and just like read off all the things that are on Polymarket, so you guys get your bingo sheets done. I think tensions are really important. Who's seen this bridge in Argentina? Okay, we got a few here. It's in Buenos Aires. This is a pretty spectacular front tension bridge. You can see that it actually swings open. It doesn't lift. That thing in the back there is the support column. And this whole thing is possible because of the tension exerted by the strings in this bridge. And so why would you want to think in tensions instead of trade-offs? It's a slightly nuanced change in how you think about it, but a trade-off is an engineering problem. A conflict is a social problem. And if you've been paying attention to anything lately, these are becoming increasingly entangled. So you can't just look at an engineering problem and solve it that way. There's a history behind it. Ethereum has the unique problem of some serious issues with perceptions of being a scam that now shape its engineering decisions every day, which you wouldn't think of from the get-go. And vice versa. Social problems have a strong engineering component, so you have issues about access to services. You can solve them through engineering. It doesn't have to be a social fix. One example of a tension that I like to use all the time is efficiency versus thoroughness. I come from a health and safety background in government, and one of the things that we often look at is how safe is something versus how efficient it is. And you can increase the safety, but often that means you're reducing the throughput significantly. And the reason there's a tension is because safety and productivity is an engineering problem. You can adjust a system just with technology to do one of the things more or less, but people have different opinions about where you should sit on that. And that's why you get tension. You get tension because you don't want your security team to design your user interface because nobody will ever be able to use your app. And you don't want the user interface team to design your security backend because it'll just let everybody in and have a good time partying with all your assets. So typically, you're sitting in the sub-optimal range, so there's some improvement that's possible. But you need to talk about it, and you need to figure out who you're working with and what their tensions are. So safety versus productivity, efficiency versus thoroughness, whether you want to ossify or continue evolving your protocol to reach some sort of functional escape velocity. The example that Venkat mentioned of aesthetics versus function. So take a couple minutes with the people at your table, come up with a tension, this versus that, preferably from your field. Try and come up with one that's from a different field. And yeah, raise your hand when you've got one. Okay, rapid fire. Who's got one? We'll dig into them later as part of the exercise this afternoon. Quick tension, this versus that. From your field, from somebody else's field. Yeah. Decentralization versus efficiency. Good. Another one? Breadth versus depth in education and learning. Speed versus quality in healthcare diagnostics. Yeah, these are all tough ones that everybody has to deal with when you work with other industries, other protocol domains. And the best thing you can do to get to the core of this thing that somebody's worrying about, what keeps you up at night? What's the key tension in your field? How can I help you navigate that? What's the conflict? What's the history? They're the raw material of bridge building. Once you find out what people's tensions are in their domain, you're going to be able to build bridges with them much faster. You're going to help them build bridges in their field with the people that they disagree with and come up with creative solutions. It is not easy to find out what somebody's key tension is, but once you do, those tensions are going to last longer than the people that are in that field. We will always have to deal with issues about safety versus productivity, decentralization and efficiency, and there will never be a perfect answer for all time. I've written about this a lot. I've hosted 42 sessions about tensions and helped people walk through them, from government to the private sector to startups. And there's a QR code for that article, and we'll be doing a little session this afternoon on this. The second tool I want to teach you about is literacy. This is, I think, highly underrated. It is a tool for word cells. I'm assuming that most people here at Devconnect are indeed shape rotators. If you're not familiar with the difference, are you like more of a mathy person, more of a wordy person? This is for the wordy people. And that bridge is the ambassador bridge between Canada and the USA, the two countries of which I'm a citizen. It is very valuable for both for trade. It was also a symbolic achievement for the two countries to build that bridge together. It's not easy to do that, and I think people are pretty proud of it. But the thing about literacy, and for it to be a good bridge, is it's not just vocabulary. You can't just learn a bunch of new terms. You can't just look up all the things that we put on the slide earlier or read a book and start using them, because people will be like, dude, you're going to talk to me about protocolization debt? This is just gibberish to me. You're going to have to find some in-between terms. They should accumulate. They should foster clearer thinking on your own problems. And importantly, they should change your behavior, how you actually act with other people. Why is literacy so effective, even though it's such a soft concept? Because when you build bridges, you have to build them one at a time between protocol domains. It's expensive. It's really hard. It takes a lot of effort to build a bridge, and you're usually doing it alone at the start. But then, you build a few bridges, and language has this nice ability that it's soft, and it transfers well. So instead of a bridge, you kind of get this area where you can fly around and jump between conversations and start to connect the dots a little bit more. And eventually, when people start using language effectively enough and broadly enough, and it becomes a new term of art, it becomes the foundation for something new. This is what we call a Whitehead advance. I think that protocol language that you'll learn today is very powerful, and it helps fields connect with each other. So when you're a diplomat for technology, listen to people, start expressing things in their terms, and start developing this language that'll be the foundation for future innovation. Once you learn to think in tensions, and you learn to speak in terms of other protocol domains, you'll build bridges without even trying, like they did in Japan. And we're going to learn more about this later. But that's it from me. So, thanks for listening. I have time for a couple questions before we have I think a sci-fi writer coming up to talk, which is going to be really cool. Somebody texted me one, but maybe they want to ask it out loud. Okay, I won't put you on the spot. Any questions about tensions or literacy? I waited for the mic, yeah.
Sorry, hello. This might be a little off topic. Could you go into your background before you were sort of stewarding the program? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, a little random. So, graduated from business school. I went to work in quantum computing. I helped found a large quantum computing research facility in Canada. COVID hit, and then I switched to government work, working on health and safety for 3 years. I saw this program, I applied to be a researcher, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, this Ethereum stuff, I've never heard about it. But they use the word protocols, I use the word protocols a lot, and I wrote a 6,000 word essay on the evolution of coal mining safety protocols and its relevance for Ethereum. And now I've helped run the program. You can read it, it's in the binder out there.
I also have a question, which might be a little bit spicy, but I'm wondering if this is the process of trying to reinvent the concept of protocols, which similar to what Web3 does a lot with a lot of other concepts, considering that protocols are something that have been around for a long time, right? Like even when Venkatesh was mentioning mercantilism in Italy, like literally there are protocols that used to be followed in terms of how missionaries would go from one country to another. This is also where, for example, the thing of gifts, gift bearing, and so protocols is actually not something new. I know that they're, and so I'm wondering if this is more trying to get more technical people to make sense of what this tool that has been used is out there. Is this more for us to try to convert it into something more technical so that it is clear for more technical people?
Yeah, it's a great question. You should always ask if you're reinventing the wheel. We've done a lot of research into if anybody else has done this. Now a few people have. A few people have written books on interdisciplinary study of protocols. We had the first one. As far as I know, nobody's done this since we started using protocol as a word in like the Roman like legislative assembly. When they used it as like the word for the glue between the first page of a document and the second page. It's come a long way since then. Yeah, and I think that both social people who talk about governance have a lot to learn from technical people who use it like, how do computers talk to each other? It's a difficult thing to figure out and it requires a lot of research, but I don't think we're reinventing the wheel. Yeah. One more.
Going back to the curve you had of the trade-offs, you know, my favorite part of it was actually that you could push the entire curve out as well as navigate the frontier. You know, what are some of the ways that you can push out the curve? You know, I think the first answer is technological innovation, but are there other ways? Like, what else is there?
I'll give kind of an interesting example. Anybody here have a food allergy? Okay, we got a couple here. So in the United States and Canada, there was a policy put in place around the 90s or the late 80s because the health department saw a rise in peanut allergies. And they said, okay, we need to take peanuts out of schools. We need to make sure that kids aren't exposed to peanuts. And then the allergies hit an inflection point and went up again. Okay, the problem's getting worse. Now we have to crack down and do more advertising. And then there was another inflection point and allergies went up again. It was because there was a fundamental misunderstanding between safety and resilience, and there was no medicine involved with this. It is only about at what age you expose kids to allergens. And there's this very complicated mechanism in how people develop allergies that we don't yet understand, but it was this simple protocol of, okay, under doctor supervision, let's expose kids to the allergen and let the body develop an immune response that's effective. We still don't understand why it works. It's not technology. It's a weird protocol where you're interfacing with something you don't understand, and it's totally empirical. I think that's a good example of people rushing to either end of like safety versus just let the peanuts rip. And the compromise took a long time to discover, but was a lot more effective in pushing that curve out. Okay, that's it from me. We have a sci-fi writer coming up. He's the 2-time winner of Protocolized Contests, so we had him down here. His stories are in the books that you guys will get, and they're outside, along with the badges if you feel like grabbing one. I actually recommend, stand up, get a little stretch on. We've been talking a little bit, and yeah, Spencer will get up here. just jump into it.
Hi, my name is Spencer. I'm a science fiction writer, self-identified word cell for sure, so happy to represent the wordy among us. And I'm just gonna hopefully spread the good word about storytelling and stories as a really effective and interesting way to create and build bridges. Sort of want to start off by talking about how fundamentally I kind of view stories as a type of bridge. They, at a really basic level, connect writers with readers, sort of the beginning and end of a story, the actual substance of the story bridges those. But I'm a lot more interested in some of the other stuff that stories can bridge. I think one of the most powerful things is they can take changing environments, changing worlds, and create really powerful analogies that help people understand, contextualize, and live within that change. This was sort of the self-identified purpose of the sort of golden age of science fiction. Writers, John Campbell actually renamed his pulpy science fiction magazine from Astounding to Analog because he really viewed the science fiction genre as a way to help contextualize and build understandings of the rapid atomic changes, technological changes, social changes happening in the 20th century. Other kinds of bridges that stories connect, facts and feelings. How do physical, social realities in human experiences sort of feel to people? The sort of empath version of stories is you can explore differences in a way that enhance understandings. They connect sort of how a world exists with how a human feels in it, or vice versa. And of course, they sort of bridge the present with the future when you're dealing with speculative fiction like science fiction, which is sort of where protocol fiction takes off, in my view. And so when we think about science fiction as being what helped sort of analogize the change that was happening in the 20th century, what does the 21st century need? We've heard some of the things that define this current time. It's a planetary century, a digital century, hopefully a decentralized century, and ultimately we're sort of moving into a protocolized century. And sort of two visions of how a 20th century analogy of change is this, I think, represented really well by this picture of Earthrise, where all of a sudden we were able to view in real time, in reality, our entire planet captured in this small little dot through these combinations of rocket science, physics, deeper understandings of technology, and we're all sort of shrunk into this one image. And this doesn't quite have the same representative resonance in the 21st century anymore. We have projects like the Opta project that attempts to visualize the planet as a set of network and data flows. So if we need new pictures of what reality is shaped like, what kind of stories can we tell that bridge, you know, the rapid, interesting changes we're going through right now with a sort of understanding and an ability to grapple with it. I think all of us here at SOP are sort of hoping that protocol fiction becomes that genre for us. The 20th century fiction, science fiction, was great. They were great stories. They helped spread scientific literacy. But ultimately, they were about great men achieving great things. They were, if they were a bridge, they were a bridge that was often sort of blocked by a toll booth. You had to be a genius scientist, a underserved bureaucrat with grand ideals and an ability to sort of make huge scientific leaps in order to understand the world. Protocol fiction, on the other hand, takes the focus from special, strange people and focuses in on the strange rules. These often take the shape of protocols, of course, but we refer to this as Chang's Law. Science fiction writer Ted Chiang talks about fantasy being about strange or special people and science fiction being about strange or special rules. We really believe that stories about rules and not people generate a lot better bridge between the complex realities and an actual way for humans to understand their place inside these systems and how to build better systems within it. They're centered on how systems, changes, and protocols affect everyone. Again, not just how great men can influence and change systems. And they deal in the engines of our era, which we like to say are protocols. It asks what happens when we deliberately design cables that link actors together and then explore that possibility space. Ultimately, I think these are stories that can prototype empathy, governance, and consequence, and as such, they're really useful tools. I think stories can be really, really helpful in this case. So to sort of show what that could look like, I put together a little prototype on how I have thought about sort of bringing together and writing protocol fiction. We'll have kind of a workshop where we do a sort of Mad Libs version of some of this a little bit later this afternoon. I think you start by rendering a rule. So you find an interesting rule, you render it, you rehearse a failure mode. What are the ways in which agents acting together or agents acting with a prototype, or rather a protocol, how can that go wrong, either for the prototype, the world, or the sort of individuals reacting with it? And then ultimately, like all good fiction, you want to reveal something deep and meaningful about about humanity, about us, about our role in the world. I want to sort of break this down a little bit further. When you're starting a protocol story, how do you figure out what rule to examine? I think a great start is the Whitehead candidate, which comes from philosopher Alfred North Whitehead's quote that a civilization's advancement is measured by its ability to extend the number of important operations that can be performed without conscious thought. Some interesting starting points for protocol fiction are examining the protocols that have sort of sunk into our subconscious space and thinking through what happens, what could change with our world, with ourselves, with the rule to make those suddenly conscious, things we have to think about. That can be a really promising start. I think something else as someone who grew up on a lot of science fiction, creating speculative protocols. Consider rules and protocols that apply to large numbers of people. Again, protocol fiction is not about special people, it's about the rules. And I think the most interesting resonant rules are going to be ones that resonate with a large number of people and apply to a large number of people. An example of this, one of the stories that I wrote that's in the description, kind of the rule I rendered is thinking about ways maybe a verified identity would never digitally die. When identity anchors are marked as deceased, the AI personality wrappers attached to them enter failure recovery, they gather as much identity as possible, and then they become kind of semi-autonomous digital ghosts. There's a lot of reasons why you could sort of think through people wanting to do this, having ways to sort of control what happens with your assets after your death. There's a lot of reasons why you'd want a digital identity to sort of persevere past death. So this was sort of the strange rule I started with. Then you think about failure modes. Something that has come up in a lot of protocol fiction is this notion of a traffic jam, which comes from science fiction writer Frederick Pohl, who said that good science fiction stories are not about predicting the automobile, but predicting the traffic jam. So it's not just about thinking through what's the coolest possible future technology I can imagine, but what are these sort of complicating effects that that technology would have on the world. Another useful term from protocol fiction is Kafka protocols. Obviously, I like these because the phrase comes from a fiction writer. And in Kafka's stories, characters are often confronted with dense mazes of bureaucracy where the rules are, if legible, totally unable to be changed, if they're even legible at all. A Kafka protocol are spaces where protocols hold too much power and participants are trapped in a maze full of rules that they can't understand or can't escape. What did this look like in my story? I sort of conceived it as coordination without context plus volume overload. The internet slowly filling with these echoes, which in my story, I didn't want to make sort of, haunted ghosts. I wanted to think through the sort of positive iteration and still how that could go wrong. But slowly the internet, you could imagine, as verified identities are adopted broader, the internet is slowly filling with these ghosts spanning their relatives' emails with ASCII art, hacking LED ads. They're usually harmless or even sweet, but you could sort of see how a broad proliferation eventually becomes a problem. What if they set a power plant's cooling system to the temperature their husband liked to sleep at as an act of service or love? You could still see how this sort of goes wrong. And then finally, the hardest part, I guess for me, usually is this revealing a human insight element. We still want to write resonant fiction that connects with people and builds those bridges. If people aren't invested in your story and don't feel like they're getting something out of it, it's not going to really work for a broad number of people. So the question I kind of ask is, what deep, shared, emotional human experience Does your rule change, intersect with, create? Something important that I heard the first writing workshop I ever attended, and I've heard it pretty much everyone since to remember with this, is even though you're dealing with broad human insights, universality comes through specificity. If you want to create stories that connect with people, taking a really, really broad view can be useful at an ideation, iteration stage. But in a story, you're going to want tangible, specific details to sort of latch onto. And almost counterintuitively, that ends up creating stories that resonate a lot more with people in my experience. How did I sort of do this? In my story, I thought about how grief is really resilient and that people are going to adapt rituals to continue to grieve their relatives. So in the story, some people sort of suggest trying to just erase these ghosts. Let's see if we can get rid of these digital identities. But people have become sort of attached to the people in their life. I think if I had someone I loved who sort of stayed with me in some way, I don't know if I would feel comfortable just sort of burning or deleting that. So in my story, a global group of mourners kind of adapt an old ritual, these Southeast Asian spirit houses, where people leave offerings to their relatives just throughout the year. They're almost everywhere. If you visit a place like Chiang Mai in Thailand, you'll just see these almost mini temples that just sort of dot the cityscape. So there's already kind of an infrastructure that we have of these sort of nodal grief remembrance spaces. So adding a technology layer onto that to sort of connect and contain their loved ones' echoes in a place of reverence. So not deleting, but still revering, but then sort of problem solving. And I think the place I kind of want to finish is just, again, you can kind of see this laid out here as a sort of example. But the place I really want to finish is, I don't think protocol fiction is just for writers or people writing stories. I think taking the tools of storytelling and writing protocol fiction, it's a way you can prototype the human layer of sort of any system or technology and really force yourself to imagine how, in an embodied human sense, things are going to feel for the people in those systems before it becomes real. Obviously, it gives you a chance to explore failure modes, which is always useful when prototyping. And also, it's just a chance to sort of investigate and better your understanding of the world around you and your lives today. That's all I had. I think I went right to my 10 minutes, so I don't know if I have time for questions. One or two? Okay, yeah, if anyone has questions, I'm happy to word sell out with you. No pressures.
So you've been writing fiction since before you joined our little scene of protocol fiction.
Yep.
What's been the biggest change in outlook for you as a writer starting to write protocol fiction as opposed to what you were doing before?
That's a great question. I'd say a lot of my sort of pre-protocol fiction focused a lot on the sort of individual experience grappling with a change or a technology. I wrote a lot of speculative science fiction. I'm still really interested in how like one person's specific, unique lived human experience can interact with technology. But protocol fiction, I think, has really pushed me to think about ways in which protocols maybe more broadly apply to and connect broader swaths of people than my sort of older fiction dealt with. So I'd say, yeah, protocol fiction has helped me on a sort of craft technique level, expand my sense of scale and sort of consequence in stories would be the two big things. Awesome, thank you. I'll pass it off to Sam, I think.
Thanks. All right, let's see if this works. Cool, good morning. Thanks for being here. We've heard a bit about protocols, we've heard a bit of a few tools. I'm going to talk now about something that feels like an oxymoron, but I think it's an actually interesting opportunity as we zoom out from where we are today in Ethereum's 10th year, and also a lot of the bridging we're talking about. And the broad concept I'm going to introduce is this idea of punk diplomacy. So, quick bit about myself. My name is Sam Chua. I'm based in Asia. I live in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So, kind of the other side of the world from here. I'm a program ambassador for Southeast Asia. I think I've been given the title this week or something by SOP, which I guess I talk about protocols a lot and do programs. I'm also the founding curator at a research and imagination collective called CPunk Studios. So we do a bunch of different things involving how to expand imaginations around like especially solar punk imaginations, especially in Southeast Asia at the SEA and CPunk and the Global South. So we've done things, for example, if you saw the newspaper outside, that's called Flyways, about experimental globalization. We did a workshop over the past month to do things like that. We've also been involved in some of the initial workshops for some of our protocols that created the concept of artificial ghosts that you can read about in one of the anthologies that's out today. So I'm a researcher and cultural entrepreneur by background, and that's my website if you want links to my other things. So, punk diplomacy. The first thing that might come to mind is punks and fancy hair, as well as maybe the game Diplomacy, which is actually not diplomatic at all. If you've ever played it, it's a great way to lose friends. The talk today, to just set expectations, is not going to be about either of these. It's actually going to be the most punk diplomacy thing possible is actually when it doesn't feel punk or diplomatic, and I'm going to explain how that unfolds. So this is kind of a brief sense of where the bridge we're going to cross over the next 8 minutes towards. This is the vision, an ecology of self-starting bridgers who can observe and imagine where their worlds might want to go, and help build bridges to help get their worlds there. And I'll unpack this over the next few slides. So, what is punk diplomacy? So, what does punk mean? What do we mean with punk? We've seen like the funky hair and all that. And I've had a chance inadvertently to speak about punk and research it a lot over the past couple of years. And I think the essence of punk is really being permissionless. Punk music started because people wanted to make and play their music the way they wanted to. There's also a very strong, resourceful, do-it-yourself kind of attitude towards it. So instead of saying, if only we had funding for a studio, if only we had speakers, if only had a guitar, the punk attitude's really like, here we are, what can we use, and let's go. Let's just do it, right? So there's a sense of small sovereignty about the punk that's not trying to be the big king. The punk doesn't particularly care about taking everything over. They just want to have the autonomy and sovereignty to do it themselves. So I kind of summarized that as in the phrase self-starting, that a punk is really about that self-starting energy. And diplomacy is about facilitating, not forcing. A diplomat doesn't carry a gun. You can't control somebody. You have to facilitate a particular kind of outcome. And often that comes by being relatable. A diplomat's usually someone who can share your language. You can connect with you. They understand not just your language, but also the way of seeing the world, the protocols you live with, the metaphors, the analogies. Diplomats enable connection and learning. Often relating to a diplomat gives you access to different things that you might have access otherwise. Sometimes their country, sometimes their company, sometimes a whole body of knowledge. A professor is sometimes your diplomat into a whole field and a way of seeing the world. So diplomats host, they link, and they bridge. So why does punk diplomacy matter? Why do we care about it? Let's start with a question, and we don't have the time to do a full exercise on this, but what makes a great leader? Anyone? Shout it out. Empathy makes a great leader. Anyone else? Communication? Yes. Vision, empathy, communication. Second question, what would you consider most important if you have to choose somebody to help or serve you and your interests going forward? So let's say we had a situation where there's a crisis coming, you're all part of a different island or village, you have to choose a leader. What's the most important criteria for you? Someone? Anyone? Yes? Sorry? Experience, okay. Somebody else? No? So when you look at these questions, a lot of times what we think about what makes a great leader from the outside is often distinct from actually what people will choose in what helps me. And the gap between the first and the second question is actually like part of the difference between like what leadership or building something and what diplomacy or being useful to somebody or helpful or having them feel like you understand them and you actually can be able to help them get through this is. Second exercise, what does a bridge actually do? What's the most important aspect of a bridge? And that is, the bridge itself, as beautifully as it's built, is only as useful as important as what it connects to. A lot of people use a lot of like really crappy bridges because what's on the other side is really interesting. It could be a hole in the fence. It could be a rickety like log or something, but it's useful because of what it connects to. So let's put these together a little bit. So a good leader, a good bridge, as well as the function of it, is really about like identifying what's worth connecting to. And that requires something we've heard about a bit today, which is understanding the interest, right? We heard Danny talking earlier about what is Wall Street interested in. What do people want to be connected to? Even if they can't necessarily like articulate it yet or see it yet because they can't imagine it, it's a new thing, right? How does that align with the deeper interest? So most people choose who they trust and maybe change or adopt something. They're not basing it on who you are or how good your product is, but they're basing it on what does it do for them. What can you help me become, or what can you help me do? And typically, I think it's a famous insight by Steve Jobs and others that says what people fundamentally want, and people can be individuals or at other scales, is often essentially a better version of myself or ourselves. A village might want a better life for themselves that has more prosperity. Like the traders on Wall Street might want a faster, more efficient way to do the trading that is part of what they do, right? So why punk diplomacy matters is that as we think about what Ethereum diplomacy means, and we think about we have a mature technology that's coming out, this gives us the opportunity to go beyond just let's build bridges to Ethereum or what we are, but to actually think about how do we bridge through the technology we have to what people actually care about. And this probably lets us appeal and connect to and serve an order of magnitude more people using the technologies and the promises that we have. And so punk diplomacy is actually about how do we enable this kind of approach. So to sum, for diplomacy allows us to meet people where they are. Users, partners, collaborators, ecosystems, the world is full of them. People choose what helps them, not so much how great you are. Diplomacy also is about learning what interests people have, what matters to them. Sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they can tell you, sometimes they're not so obvious and they're deeper. And diplomacy gives us a superpower to not just bridge to who we are, what we're doing, but to actually help people bridge to what they want using the things that we can offer them. And why does punk matter for this? Diplomacy, it's one thing. And this is really because centralization, decentralization, most of us here are familiar, right? Bridging, like so many other things like finance or databases or security, it's too important a function and too powerful a function to just centralize and leave only to the professionals. Or the opposite of punk, which is the preps, people who have been groomed their whole life to be diplomats. Yes, there's a value in having maybe some centralized appointed diplomats to represent parts of the ecosystem, but if we can unleash all of us to exercise some practice of diplomacy to be able to help bridge the communities we connect to better versions of themselves using technologies that we understand, that actually scales things up by many orders of magnitude. So to be able to decentralize bridging is to be able to distribute bridging. And if we have a whole ecology, population of citizen possibilists who enable possibilities, right, we can enable hyper-contextual, super adapted context, local bridging in all sorts of different situations, whether it's in fields of science or healthcare, finance, or more. So hope you get a better sense of like why punk diplomacy matters, and I'm going to quickly run through a bit of how we get there. So we've had a lot of tools over the past couple hours that our colleagues have introduced, and I'm going to start with this. Many of us, and over the past 1 week, we've seen lots of different builders, right, and courses for builders, and there's a lot of learning about how do you build a good bridge, how do you engineer it well, how do you ensure that it protects privacy, it's secure, etc. The skill set in diplomacy is a complementary set of questions. Where should the bridge be? What are you trying to cross? Where should it go? What are you linking people to? That's a skill set of surveying, navigation, strategy. And that comes from what Venkat has shared earlier, which is to get to good surveying, get good navigation, good strategy, you have to be able to observe, to listen, to understand and imagine. and do all this as a diplomat while bringing the people along. Because if you're just doing this by yourself, you're not able to bring people along with you. There's a lot of different tools and means beyond the protocols centric stuff we've heard about, right? Diplomats are really good observers and listeners. They're often really good at translating and code switching, as we heard Danny talk about earlier. Diplomats often are really good hosts as well, because to host is to create a space where you can engage with people in richer ways. And sometimes by creating hosting, you create a different kind of space where different actors in your ecosystem can interact in different ways, where people from different countries that are often arguing can maybe come together and listen to each other instead. Coalition and community building is also a really big part of diplomacy. Coalition building is being able to craft and find stories that allow new us or we's to emerge. We might be different countries, but Canada and America with the bridge can actually be a collective economy or ecosystem or society. A lot more channels, being a person that connects different parts, cocoons for innovation, containers for new ideas. A lot of different tools and stuff in diplomacy. We've covered a lot in our CPUNK Studios experience in all sorts of different small ways. I'm happy to share those about you maybe during the break. So this is maybe the opportunity for us, the punk diplomacy opportunity for us, which is to expand beyond the building and engineering aspect into all these opportunities that like diplomacy might be able to unlock for us. And this doesn't mean that every single builder has to become a diplomat overnight, but it does make us ask, who do we partner with that could create these complementary skill sets? Can we expand our impact through accessing these things? And so that's a summary of punk diplomacy. An ecology of self-starting bridgers who can observe and imagine where their worlds might want to go, even if they can't see it yet, and then build bridges to help them get there. And in short, right, there's an opportunity to transcend from being builders to also being bridgers, and to expand the vision from just adoption, which is a really good measure, but maybe not the pursuit, to augmentation, which is if we can center on augmentation as what we offer to the people we link with, then adoption follows very naturally. So maybe it's time to debridge. Thank you. We're doing questions or? Okay, I've been given permission for 2 questions, if anyone has them. Venkat.
So you've helped us build the Southeast Asia program in particular, and that's an archipelago with a growing crypto scene as well as many other things happening. Can you point to a couple of interesting experiences you've had doing this in Southeast Asia?
Sure. So CPUNK Studios, this experiment, has been in existence for just over a year. I think we started off as a small experimental meetup in Chiang Mai last year amidst all the pop-up villages. Over the past 6 months, we've actually been able to build bridges into academic communities as well as the climate scene. A few months ago, we presented CPUNK Studio, one of our first papers that was on the CPUNK theme at an academic conference in Chiang Mai. We were presenting it along with other Southeast Asian scholars, and we were doing it as basically a non-academic entity, right? We have no housing university, we have no background like that. And I think the way we did that was just by, learning the rules of the game and trying to play with it, right? So we went there as you would to an academic conference. We prepared a paper that was quite academic, submitted in the usual format. And in doing that, we were able to actually not just bring something to an academic spot, we were able to also offer something to academics that was fresh for them, right? We attracted a lot of academics who were a bit frustrated by what they felt was the lack of imagination in some of the spaces they were with. And we were the punks who somehow ended up in a scholarly conference and could do something with that. A second example is we presented a climate fiction exhibition at Bangkok Climate Action Week just last month. And we were able to also interface with a whole bunch of different workshops with climate stakeholders. I remember being in a room like this with about 70 people, where the median age of how long they had been in the climate movement was about 35 years. And how did we end up in there? Because, again, we kind of came in through working with different partners we had before, often just through casual conversations, meet someone at a conference, say, hey, we've always thought about doing fiction for something. And then they say, oh, we are interested in doing climate topics? Is there something there? And just by being very extremely open-ended and open to saying, hey, we do a bit of this, but we can only do this. But if you want to explore this, we can do that together with you. We somehow stumbled into what felt like a really important conversation that I didn't expect, certainly at the beginning of the year, to be in a climate circle with all these people at the beginning. So I guess serendipity, just being open, listening, and exploring is part of how I would answer that question. Yeah. Second question, if anyone has one. Otherwise, I guess it's lunch. It's hard to see with the lights in my face, so if you see one, let me know. Otherwise, I guess, is it lunch after this, or one more? Okay, oh yeah, this is a video. Cool, well, thanks. I'll be around if you have any more questions. Cheers. Oh, wait, you have a... Okay.
Okay, speaking of ghosts and machines, our next talk is actually a recording. Tim Bako is the executive sponsor of Summer of Protocols, and he's been involved since the beginning as a director of the program, helping guide all of the study, all of the research, all of the field work that's gone on. And yeah, if we could pull up, there we go, perfect. Yeah, and he couldn't be here because he just had a baby, which is very exciting. It's not the first Summer of Protocols baby. There have been a few, but it is the most recent. Which is super exciting. Tim also helped write the pilot study that kicked off SOP, and I think he's got some very sophisticated thoughts on bridge building, especially looking to the future. And you'll hear about it in this talk. And after the talk, I'll give a quick brief on what's going to happen for lunch and afterwards. So stick around for that. Since he's online, since he's just a ghost in a machine, there won't be a Q&A, but I encourage you to chat with people like Venkat and I. If you've got a question for Tim, we can be proxies for an answer. Okay, hopefully the sound works here. This is a real ghost in the machine now. Sometimes you have to unplug it and let the ghost out. I don't have the silicon thumb like this guy.
Hey, it's Jimmy Harvey and Amy Watson. We are in Spain. Today we're going to take you on a tasty flavor trip. We're going to cook a paella vegana and listen to some chill out deep house music. Enjoy.
Okay, here we go.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Bako and I've been involved in Summer of Protocols since its start in 2022. The title of my talk here is Argument Engineering from the Ivory Tower, and in short, it's a talk about protocol design. My goal is to show why protocols are their own class of things and how thinking about them that way can help us design both Ethereum as well as many other systems more wisely. And protocols borrow from a lot of familiar things when you look at them, but they never quite seem to fit any of those. If we take Ethereum as an example, one person can look at it and see that it's money, or part of it resembles money. Other people will look at it and think of it as a world computer or a settlement layer, or even something like a digital nation. And while Ethereum has parts of all of this, it's actually neither of those things full. And the core premise of Summer Protocol started somewhere around this image to try and figure out, okay, is there a better way we can actually look at this? And instead of zooming in to Ethereum directly, we figured we should instead zoom out and try to think of this as a class that's broader than just blockchains. And so protocols is what we came up with, and we decided to study them as a first-class topic to try and understand the commonalities and see if there's these kind of high-level rules we could derive that would apply beyond just Ethereum. One way to think about this is to think of protocols as Swiss Army knives. The Swiss Army knives all have similar features. They tend to all have a blade, for example, but each knife can have like its own weird set of tools and its own constraints. And so through this lens, you can think of Ethereum as being effectively a Swiss Army knife with a money tool attached to it. This makes it a very useful framing to both communicate what's special to Ethereum to people outside of blockchain, but also for us to learn from them, right? We can look at these other protocols in the world, see what affordances or things that they have that Ethereum might be lacking, and try to understand how it kind of squares with what we have here. And when we talk about protocol literacy today, this is what we're referring to. The idea that we want to come up with this vocabulary, these mental models that help you think in terms of protocols and reasons about them at a level of abstraction slightly higher than just Ethereum or just the thing in front of you, but to still come up with things that actually apply across all these domains. And one of the most interesting insights that came up from this work comes through like a quote from this philosopher, Alfred North Whitehead, where he said that civilization advances by extending the number of important operations which we can perform without thinking of them. And so we've come to think of protocols as tools for Whitehead advances. These Whitehead advanced machines that encapsulate complexity and make it disappear, allow a society to build more and more complex things on top of them. I have a couple examples on this slide, and you can think of something like GPS, which is this complex technological coordination protocol that allows us to go from point A to point B anywhere on Earth trivially. Or, looking into the crypto space, think of Uniswap, which has protocolized markets. Right now, we can just open a liquidity pool between two assets, which is something that before was this huge, complex thing to do, and that was definitely not permissionless. And looking outside of technology, even things like traffic and road control protocols effectively allow us to do these very complicated coordination exercises across everyone who wants to navigate in the same space in a way that's understandable and where the complexity is mostly abstracted. But one implication of this is that once these protocols get good and get adopted, they tend to fade into the background, right? Society forgets that they're there. And this means they become much harder to change. They sort of ossify to some extent. One good model to think about this is Stuart Brent's idea of pace layering, which looks at how different things evolve at different time scale. So we talked a bit about protocol watching earlier today. So if you're watching protocols, you'll be sitting in these slower layers, layers around culture and governance, and maybe bleeding a bit into infrastructure. Protocols don't change every week, right? Like they don't update. And this is good in that it provides some stability, but it also means that they can get out of sync with the faster things that happen on top of them. And again, looking at Ethereum, we kind of see this all the time. There's this mismatch between all of the things that happen on the protocol, all of the considerations that we have, ranging from how the blob markets work, to censorship on chain, to behaviors and rewards around MEV that just happen at a much quicker iteration speed between hours to weeks, compared to what we're able to do at the actual protocol change levels, which takes us months to a year. And this is why protocol work can feel a bit like working in an ivory tower compared to doing product work. We can't go and change things at a very rapid iteration pace. So we have to choose to step back, be more slow, more deliberate, and really kind of spend a lot of time at the design side of things, hoping that what we come up with is robust and resilient enough to accommodate all of these short-term perturbations. And part of this is kind of what led us to come up with a better definition of protocol throughout the years. So in 2022, when we started this work, Danny had this definition of a protocol that was accurate, but a bit of a mouthful. Say it's a stratum of codified behavior that allows for the construction or emergence of complex coordinated behaviors at adjacent velocity. And after 2 years, Venkat was able to distill this to a two-word definition: protocol as engineered arguments. You can think of a protocol as something we create to structure and mediate conflict over time, which specifies actors, orderings, what count as valid or invalid, and what are the governance or meta parameters that you use when things go wrong. This has been a helpful shorthand mental model of like, okay, why is a protocol different from an API, from a grammar, or from these other things that exist? And once you have that, you can start thinking about, okay, how do you actually design and work on protocols? I think the standard way this happens is that if you're doing this type of work, like I do on Ethereum, and you think about like, okay, what will the world look like with my protocol being successful? You kind of imagine the world today, and then you imagine your protocol all over it, where, I work on Ethereum, and then I imagine, okay, the future will look just like today, but Ethereum's going to provide hardness, settlement, programmability, resilience, and digital assets to the entire world. But we're not the only ones who think like this. We're not the only ivory tower in the world. If you go and say talk to AI people, right, they'll have the same view where they imagine the world today, and then AI being like the most dominant force that's going to affect it. And their version of the future is like today plus AI everywhere. And even outside of tech, think of things like climate change and environmental activism, where they imagine the future as being like today, but where there's a bunch of things that happen or that we change about the environment, and that's like the main dominant change. But in reality, it's much messier than this, right? Because the world is not static. All things happen at the same time. And another insight that came out of this sort of protocol is that you can just learn a lot about your protocols and its place in the future by seeing how it would land in someone else's imagined futures. And this is where I think it's an interesting place to contrast protocol governance versus protocol diplomacy. You can think of protocol governance as being, how do you think about the things that affect your future for your protocol, right? And on Ethereum, we have both formal and informal governance that we use to do this. And you can think of protocol diplomacy as, how does your protocol negotiate the way will exist in others' future? What guarantees are we going to offer? What will we refuse to do? And how are we going to meet them where they are? And again, here we can look at examples of Ethereum's history. So if we look at, say, academia, I think this is actually a case where we did diplomacy pretty well. We helped bring a lot of things from academia, like Starks or Futarchies, out of just being merely academic papers in none, which is a huge alignment of the futures that environmentalists imagine. And we got some short-term goodwill from climate folks, but I wouldn't say that like Ethereum today is deeply embedded in the broader climate narratives, which I think shows that technical alignment isn't quite enough. You need some amount of diplomacy if you want to actually live in somebody else's future. And one case where we're seeing this today is with AI. It's probably one of the most active futures being built right now. And people within the Ethereum community asking, okay, how does Ethereum fit? How do we build affordances for AI? How do we frame our problems in ways that AI people will resonate with? And how do we align our tempos? AI moves at a different speed than Ethereum in different ways. And so what are the ways in which, through the protocols and through the community and governance we build around it, we want to align with this? This is a diplomatic challenge. You need to define both technical interfaces and affordances in your protocol, as well as social and governance bridges that allow you to intersect those futures. This is why we think protocol literacy is so important. It's a shared language that allows us to actually talk to other ivory towers about what we're doing. And without this, explaining, say, Ethereum to AI people or a climate person or someone working on workplace safety protocols just doesn't stick, right? They don't have the same references, the same mental models. Whereas thinking about protocol literacy and these shared concepts allows us to have conversations at like this different level of abstraction. And so this is the goal of this event and the goal of this work we've done, where we see good protocol diplomacy as building bridges between these different Swiss Army knives, figuring out how they can work together and figuring out what we can give to them and what we can learn from them, so that if we actually do see these protocols succeed and we do see them get adopted, we've designed the best possible version of them. We've engineered the arguments in the most resilient and future compatible way, such that when they fade in the background and automate everything, we actually do end up in a utopia. And the only way I think to really internalize this is to put it in practice. So this is why this will be the last talk today, and all of this afternoon will be spent on workshops and you digging into those concepts and trying to work with them and understand them much better. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day at Bridge Atlas. Cheers.
Nice. A little applause for the ghost of Tim. Okay. Well, I will give a little bit of a preview here of what's going to happen this afternoon. Okay, I'm just going to pull up the agenda here. Okay, great. We just did the talks. These were like mini classes on tools that you'll use this afternoon, plus some stuff. And yeah, this afternoon we'll actually get into little delegations and go around and do these exercises. I think it's going to be really productive and put these ideas into practice. Everything from the orientation that you got from Venkat and the really shining example of what Danny's doing with Wall Street with his partner at Etherealize. We didn't have Nicholas come in to talk today. We hosted a really great event with him on Wednesday. He was going to talk about bridging the gap between technology and culture. That's really, really important for Ethereum. And there are some people doing great work with like art and protocol art. We've taught some classes on protocol art as well. Spencer talked about how to tell stories about protocols, and Sam's lens on punk diplomacy, I think, is really excellent and fits with the ethos of the people here at Devconnect. So what we've got now is some custom protocol empanadas. They're not the same empanadas as out there, so you can go ahead and enjoy those over lunch. I encourage you to grab your science fiction swag, your protocol watcher button, put it on the button, read the books, chat with the people here if you have questions. Everybody that spoke will be around. And yeah, come back at 12:30, 12:35 for the workshop. We'll form delegations and then go through the exercise. It's going to be pretty sweet. We spent a lot of time getting it together and have some great exercises planned for everybody. So thanks for your attention this morning. And yeah, if anybody won bingo, yeah, let me know. See you at 12:35-ish.
Your flagrant disregard for protocol has unnecessarily placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
Yeah, I don't know the protocol on that one.
Well, what's protocol then?
Warning, violation of protocol.
This is beyond protocol.
There's a plan of action that exists called the Least Resistant Bomb Location Protocol.
A house party protocol, sir?
That was my protocol.
That was just protocol.
Some protocol we got here.
So I don't really know the protocol here.
Sir! That's against protocol, sir!
Secondary protocol.
Protocol 1 has been validated.
Protocol?
Our first protocol demands that we protect you.
No, the protocol in theory is sound.
No. He just asked for the protocol.
Observe rounds and stay within hospital protocol.
I was asked to acquire the recognition protocol, which I did.
It's just protocol so we don't address each other by our names during the robbery.
It is not correct protocol. I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I didn't know you'd be a stickler for protocol.
How did the protocol fit in?
Deniability. He's only got part of the protocol.
He doesn't know the protocol yet.
Follow protocol before extracting him.
Engage no contact protocol.
Do you know the rules of protocol concerning my son?
Detection protocol, now!
Containment protocol initiated.
But we do have protocol.
But this is protocol.
And that being the case, that we all desire peace, you only have to follow a few simple rules of protocol.
Your flagrant disregard for protocol has unnecessarily placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I decide what protocol is.
That would be standard protocol.
No, I followed protocol.
Just protocol.
Disengaging safety protocol.
I don't know what the protocol there is.
Follow protocol.
Well, the customs, the history, the protocol.
Look, nobody's in trouble. I'm just following protocol.
Protocol?
I'll repeat the protocol, okay?
Wait.
Protocol says we make a distress call, right?
In the event of a third, we have to implement the ice cream protocol.
This protocol droid might be useful.
I mean, follow your protocol and all, but you should really keep your distance.
I'm a protocol expert, not a marriage counselor.
There is nobody here to impress with your protocol.
Your flagrant disregard for protocol has unnecessarily placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
Yeah, I don't know the protocol on that one.
Well, what's protocol then?
Warning, violation of protocol.
This is beyond protocol.
There's a plan of action that exists called the Least Resistant Bomb Location Protocol.
A house party protocol, sir?
That was my protocol.
That was just protocol.
Some protocol we got here.
So I don't really know the protocol here.
Sir! That's against protocol, sir!
Secondary protocol.
Protocol 1 has been validated.
Protocol?
Our first protocol demands that we protect you.
No, the protocol in theory is sound.
No. He just asked for the protocol.
Observe rounds and stay within hospital protocol.
I was asked to acquire the recognition protocol, which I did.
It's just protocol so we don't address each other by our names during the robbery.
It is not correct protocol. I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I didn't know you'd be a stickler for protocol.
How did the protocol fit in?
Deniability. He's only got part of the protocol.
He doesn't know the protocol yet.
Follow protocol before extracting him.
Engage no contact protocol.
Do you know the rules of protocol concerning my son?
Detection protocol, now!
Containment protocol initiated.
But we do have protocol.
But this is protocol.
Placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I decide what protocol is.
That would be standard protocol.
No, I followed protocol.
Just protocol.
Disengaging safety protocol.
I don't know what the protocol there is.
Follow protocol.
Well, the customs, the history, the protocol.
Look, nobody's in trouble. I'm just following protocol.
Protocol?
I'll repeat the protocol, okay?
Okay, we're going to get started on the workshop soon. The protocol supercut will continue to play in the background. If you're coming to the workshop, bring your empanada in. Grab your empanada to go. Make sure you get your empanada and your sci-fi, and come on in. You got your gear?
Do you have a scissor?
Do I have a scissors?
Forgot to cut these out.
I also did not cut them out, so it's my bad.
It's all good.
Someone will be on the stage.
Just me.
Do a scissor by any chance?
You could do the like a million fold and then rip technique.
Cannot mess it up.
I need some reverb on this. Okay. If you are a part of the Bridge Atlas workshop, start making your way.
Protocol in theory is sound.
No. He just asked for the protocol.
Observe rounds and stay within hospital protocol.
I was asked to acquire the recognition protocol, which I did.
It's just protocol, so we don't address each other by our names during the robbery.
It's not correct protocol. I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I didn't know you'd be a stickler for protocol.
How did the protocol fit in?
Deniability. He's only got part of the protocol.
He doesn't know the protocol yet.
Follow protocol before extracting him.
Engage no contact protocol.
Do you know the rules of protocol concerning my son?
Detection protocol, now!
Containment protocol initiated.
But we do have a protocol.
But this is protocol.
And that being the case, that we all desire peace, you only have to follow a few simple rules of protocol.
Your flagrant disregard for protocol has unnecessarily placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I decide what protocol is. That would be standard protocol.
No, I followed protocol.
Just protocol.
Disengaging safety protocol!
I don't know what the protocol there is. Follow protocol.
Well, the customs, the history, the protocol.
Look, nobody's in trouble. I'm just following protocol.
Protocol?
I'll repeat the protocol, okay?
Wait.
Protocol says we make a distress call, right?
In the event of a third, we have to implement the ice cream protocol.
God, this protocol droid might be useful.
I mean, follow your protocol and all, but you should really keep your distance.
I'm a protocol expert, not a marriage counselor.
There is nobody here to impress with your protocol.
Your flagrant disregard for protocol has unnecessarily placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
Yeah, I don't know the protocol on that one.
Well, what's protocol then?
Warning, violation of protocol.
This is beyond protocol.
There's a plan of action that exists called the Least Resistant Bomb Location Protocol.
The house party protocol, sir?
That was my protocol.
That was just protocol.
Some protocol we got here.
So I don't really know the protocol here.
Sir! That's against protocol, sir!
Secondary protocol.
Protocol 1 has been validated.
Protocol?
Our first protocol demands that we protect you.
No, the protocol in theory is sound.
No. He just asked for the protocol.
Observe rounds and stay within hospital protocol.
I was asked to acquire the recognition protocol, which I did.
It's just protocol so we don't address each other by our names during the robbery.
It is not correct protocol. I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I didn't know you'd be a stickler for protocol.
How did the protocol fit in?
Deniability.
He's only got part of the protocol.
He doesn't know the protocol yet.
Follow protocol before extracting him.
Engage no contact protocol.
Do you know the rules of protocol concerning my son?
Detection protocol, now!
Containment protocol initiated.
But we do have protocol.
But this is protocol.
And that being the case, that we all desire peace, you only have to follow a few simple rules of protocol.
Your flagrant disregard for protocol has unnecessarily placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I decide what protocol is.
That would be standard protocol.
No, I followed protocol.
Just protocol.
Disengaging safety protocol.
I don't know what the protocol there is. Follow protocol.
Well, the customs, the history, the protocol.
Look, nobody's in trouble. I'm just following protocol.
Protocol?
I'll repeat the protocol, okay?
Wait.
Protocol says we make a distress call, right?
In the event of a third, we have to implement the ice cream protocol.
God! This protocol droid might be useful.
I mean, follow your protocol and all, but you should really keep your distance.
I'm a protocol expert, not a marriage counselor.
There is nobody here to impress with your protocol.
Your flagrant disregard for protocol has unnecessarily placed yourself and my officers in the line of fire.
Yeah, I don't know the protocol on that one.
Well, what's protocol then?
Warning, violation of protocol.
This is beyond protocol.
There's a plan of action that exists called the Least Resistant Bomb Location Protocol.
The house party protocol, sir?
That was my protocol.
That was just protocol.
Some protocol we got here.
So I don't really know the protocol here.
Sir! That's against protocol, sir!
Secondary protocol.
Protocol 1 has been validated.
Protocol?
Our first protocol demands that we protect you.
No, the protocol in theory is sound.
No. He just asked for the protocol.
Observe rounds and stay within hospital protocol.
I was asked to acquire the recognition protocol, which I did.
It's just protocol so we don't address each other by our names during the robbery.
It is not correct protocol. I'll give you a call for a protocol test as soon as it's hot.
I didn't know you'd be a
Okay,
stickler for protocol.
we're gonna start
How did the
getting
protocol
into
fit in?
tables here.
Deniability.
So, if you're not in a table that says like table 3, Andes, table 3, or table 5, like Amazon Forest, go ahead and head to a table like this one. It'll have a number, a name, and a printout of the agenda. Try and form roughly equal groups. We got one here, one at the back with Spencer, and then the last one here. This table's looking a little skinny. Anybody wants to join up here? These will be your... not know yet. Maybe somebody that you want to be your friend, somebody that looks like they know a lot about diplomacy. Okay, this table could use another person. Perfect. All right. And if you'd like to join the workshop, sir, table at the back is a good place to go. Okay, I thought this was for later. Okay. Okay, it seems like we're set up. This is great. Okay, so was anybody here now that wasn't at the talks this morning? I know there are a couple people. All right, I'll do a short little TLDR of what we talked about this morning. I'm going to use the mic because I have a hard time projecting my voice. So this morning we learned about ecosystem diplomacy, which is different from regular diplomacy. Ethereum doesn't have the ability necessarily to appoint diplomats or to hire them, so people kind of choose to be diplomats for Ethereum as their own vocation. Today we've been talking about tools for ecosystem diplomats and how they're a little bit different from regular diplomats. And we have 4 esteemed people here who are going to teach you these tools. So Mishal, raise your hand. Mishal was a grantee of the first Summer of Protocols cohort, and she's going to be teaching you about gift giving and parties and the social aspect of diplomacy, which is very important. You don't want to just show up to a party, guns a-blazing. You can get yourself into some trouble. Sam, who is our ambassador for Southeast Asia for Summer of Protocols, is going to be talking about punk diplomacy. Sam, if you can raise your hand. This is going to be a really interesting table. And then we have Trent Van Epps, who has written a lot of interesting stuff about capture. He also coordinates and organizes Protocol Guild and is a member of it. That's going to be a good table, thinking both about the offensive and defensive side of diplomacy. And then back in the middle, we have Spencer Nickey, who is a 2-time winner of our science fiction contests. If you haven't grabbed a science fiction anthology, make sure to do so. And he's going to talk to you about telling stories about protocols. How do you tell a story about Ethereum that people will understand? Okay. That said, you will notice at your table there's a name for the region that you're representing. Andes, Guiana Shield, a forest. Keep in mind that this is like your diplomatic state. So you're going to be going around to the other regions and being a bit of a diplomat, learning what it means to, express the message that you're supposed to, negotiate with others, learn about these skills, practice them. For simplicity, we're just going to rotate this way about every 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how long the exercises take. So keep in mind some of the skills that you're supposed to learn today. Tensions, how to negotiate trade-offs and conflict, how to think about literacy and developing terms that people can use to understand others' fields. Ethereum isn't just its own thing. You've got to bridge it to other places. Think about what it means to be a punk diplomat, even if that sounds like an oxymoron. How to protect your field from capture. And how to think about the future and understand the stories that other people tell. So keep these things in mind. If you have any questions, just flag me down. I think the facilitators are all awesome and will do a great job. So it's just about to be 1 o'clock. I almost timed this perfectly. So let's do the first exercise. Give you 15 minutes to warm up, get to know the people in your delegation. You'll stay with them through the exercise. So treat this as like a little expedition. You're going to the different regions, you're going to pick up some skills, you're going to come back, and you're going to share what you've learned. Okay, so let's go until 1:15. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and we can get started.
That was the night. We dance, we love, we go high. Move your body. Get on the dance floor. Feel the rhythm. All night long. Move your body. Get on the dance floor. Feel the rhythm. All night long.
আমি ওই কারণে বন্ধুকে মরি কবরে শুয়াই না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না আমি ওই কারণে বন্ধুকে মরি কবরে শুয়াই না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না আমি ওই কারণে বন্ধুকে মরি কবরে শুয়াই না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না আমি ওই কারণে বন্ধুকে মরি কবরে শুয়াই না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না আমি ওই কারণে বন্ধুকে মরি কবরে শুয়াই না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না তোমার দিল কি দয়া হয় না খোদা দিল কি দয়া হয় না
Okay, couple minutes left. You guys are, everybody on track to finish on time? Couple minutes? Couple minutes, okay. Couple more minutes. Hey guys, let's get ready. Time to pack your bags. Time to go to another region. Okay. 60 seconds to wrap up your exercise, and then the delegation should stand up and get ready to move over clockwise. With that music, kind of felt like musical chairs that we've got going here. Okay. Fun fact about diplomats is you are not allowed to check their bags. You cannot look inside the bags that they're carrying. Okay. Make sure everybody goes in the same direction. Yeah, that group come up to the front. You guys go over there. Yeah, okay. And then the Andes, you'll go to the back. Yeah, now you're on someone else's turf, basically. So the facilitator is the host of the region. You guys go to the back there. Okay, great. So same deal. Again, try and pick up the tool that they're teaching. Think about what it is. Think about how you could use it, and we'll come back in 15. Let's take another 4 minutes to wrap things up. Okay. Time for another round. We had a couple people trickle in, so if you've got somebody new in your delegation, get up. We're about to rotate one more time around to the different regions. Spend a couple minutes either with your new teammate, onboarding them to the delegation, or with your old team being like, what's our strategy moving forward? How are we going to make a good impression on our next host? How are we going to show them how smart and diplomatic we are? So let's just get up, or just, stretch a little bit, touch your toes, and let's move in 90 seconds. We're going to go the same direction. Okay, 30-second warning. About to rotate. Okay, this looks like a little bit of a funky rotation, but we'll work with it. Yeah, you guys, come on over. You come in here. You guys, sorry to interrupt. Before you get started, you guys are going to that table.
Oh, okay, so we come to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
For space reasons, or? So I'm relocating as well. Or
No, you're staying there.
I'm saying okay.
You stay put. You're the host.
I'll see you later. Oh, okay.
Okay, looks like everybody's in the right location. I'll let you get started. Who's feeling like they're becoming a little bit better of a diplomat? They can wrestle with the big boys at the table. All the Italians, all the Americans, all the lobbyists. Okay, I think we're on the right track. Same deal. 15 minutes. Last time it ran a little over. Try and keep it tight.
szukasz znów tak pilnie swoich wad. Podpowiem ci, czas by wiatr w końcu zaczął wiać. W oczy twe spojrzę, skaże ten strach. Pozwól mi dojrzeć do tego, co masz. To chwilę zwątpień daję ci znak. Odetchnij na chwilę.
Okay, let's do 3 minutes to kind of close out this round, and then we'll head to the last round, round 4, and then after that you'll return to your home region and debrief with your delegation. 3 minutes. One minute to wrap it up, and then we'll do the final region, final rotation. You're almost home. All right. Who's seen Sam Chua's new magazine? This is pretty cool. This is kind of an unorthodox approach to diplomacy that Sam is taking by printing a newspaper. And I'm kind of reminded about diplomacy today, because traditional diplomats are on a bit of a back foot. I think that you guys, as new protocol diplomats of a technology ecosystem, are a little bit scary to the diplomats today, just like this newspaper is scary to the New York Times. It's like, oh, anybody can make what we make. Anybody can do diplomacy today. This is a great opportunity. So we're heading into the last round. One final rotation, then you're going to head back to your home region, and I'll give you instructions on how to wrap it up. Yeah, these are great sessions. I'm sure you want to see it through, so head on over, same direction as before, and let's finish strong. Does everybody know which direction they're going? Sure. Did somebody lose a leather jacket? We got a leather jacket over here. It might be from before. Yeah.
We'll put it on the stage and that'd be easier. Put it on the stage,
yeah.
Okay.
It was on that table.
There. All right. Cool. Everybody at their final region. Here we go. Okay, this one's looking a little light. I think Venkat and I might join Trent's table. All right. Again, 15 minutes. This is kind of your last chance to learn a tool for diplomacy, and then we'll finish back at your home region where you started. All right. 15 minutes, so that will be 2:12. 5 minutes.
Okay, sorry, I confused words. I was okay. Worry.
Let's start wrapping it up. Minute and a half. Once you're done, stand up, return to the home table that you started out at. Just to add a physical touch to the returning home. The table that you daydream about, your childhood table where you grew up. I'll give you 2 more minutes since these conversations look really good, and then we're going to come back to the home regions. Okay, it is time for the last stage of this workshop, which is the delegations are going to do a little share back. So, who had, I think it was the Andes. Who was the Andes starting out? Region 1. Are you guys the Andes? Okay, awesome. We have our first group here. So everybody's now gone through all the regions, all the exercises. Hey, you guys ready? You guys ready? You ready? Yeah. Okay, here we go. So it is customary in diplomacy to be very good at talking. I think that's the part that we notice the most about diplomats is they like to yap, but it also involves listening. So every region's going to get a chance to share a couple things that they learned today. And I want you to focus on 3 things. 1, you had a little fact sheet in front of you. What was something that you took away about the region that you were representing? I think that South America is really, really cool. And thinking about it in terms of bioregions adds a special layer of appreciation for me in terms of, okay, there's an overlap between countries that's like very deep rooted. What's something you took away from that? Then I want you to share 2 things that you took away. What are 2 ideas or 2 tools that you picked up here that you think that you'll take away? And the last thing I want you to share is how you think you'll use them moving forward. What's your plan? To keep it short, let's start with one person from the delegation. If you feel like you really want to chime in to what your teammate said, go ahead, but just for sake of time, keep it simple. So 1 thing you appreciate, 2 ideas, and the last thing is how you plan to use it. So we'll start with the Andes.
Again, what did we didn't have time to think about.
Something you liked about the region that you were representing. 2 ideas, and how you think you'll use them.
I guess like I can speak as the Andes and say that like one thing that we love about our region is that it's a very rich region in terms of the ecosystem diversity that we have. We have like cloud forests, but we also have glaciers and so on. So like the ecosystemic diversity that we have is for sure our wealth. Sorry. One thing that we'll take away is.
I think you need 2 things that we take away. Okay. I think one of the things when we were playing the game on that table, Mashal's game, I think one thing that we kind of found like a surprise convergence on is that we were talking a lot about protocols that are drawn from society and culture. And in finding and going through that, we found that there may be differences, but there are also overlaps. And the more you go into it, the more you recognize. So we were so focused, like most of the table was focused on cultural differences, right? And then you pointed out that there were actually gender dynamics at play as well. So just the interlinkages of different things going on and how you can't really look at it from a binary lens or one lens. There's a lot of overlap in things going. So just kind of having a well-rounded and coherent lens is more important than having like a singular lens. So I think that's one takeaway. The second takeaway is probably the importance of a good narrative. That you could have a complicated thing, but if you could kind of simplify it or tell it in a way that's appealing to the audience or package it in a decent or like an amusing way, I think that goes a long way. And then one final thing, I know you asked for 2, but we went through a few, so I do want to say that as well. And then another important thing is to recognize the players that you have in diplomacy. So you could have different actors, as Trent pointed out, you could have different actors at play and you kind of have to recognize the role that all of them have. And what I learned from this one, or what we learned from this one, is that you have to recognize who your audience is. It's not just what you're doing, you have to recognize who your audience is and tailor everything that we just discussed to your audience. So those would be our takeaways. Moving forward, do all of those things.
Perfect. Okay. Great job, Andy's team. Little applause for the Andy's team for going first. Are you the Guyana Shield? Okay. Who's group 3? Guyana Shield. Oh, this is okay. Yeah, we'll give you a pass because the rest of her delegation fled the country. Are you guys 5 or 7? They're 7. You'll go last. Okay, 5. The Atlantic Forest. Looks like you've been voluntold.
Wait, what?
Okay, one thing you appreciated about the region, 2 things you kind of took away, and how you think you'll use it moving forward.
Yeah, one thing we liked about the Atlantic Forest was just the sense of this forest being something, as you said, that spans the entire continent, providing oxygen to the entire region, regulating the climate, and it's not really something that any one country, it spans more than all the single countries, which we kind of liked. Yeah, these were really great exercises. I think we really enjoyed them. We had a lot of fun getting to know each other and sort of pushing ourselves a little bit. The star sign communication was a lot of fun. The game was fun. The capture was fun. The story was fun. So they were all great. One thing that I really took away from the whole workshop was really the empathy about the other person. You know, I think I often get so excited about things that I want to share, that I want other people to get excited about, as excited as I am. And that doesn't always work. And so really thinking, okay, like I have something to offer, sure, but let's start always with who is this person, what do they want and need and think and believe, and then really work from there. Anyone else wants to add?
Any other thoughts from this group? Okay, this is great. Nice job, Atlantic Forest. Also, I think my favorite region. Not because my name's Timber, but okay. And last up, we have the Pampas.
Okay, I'm not too sure of what I'm gonna say, but basically, what I think we take out from today's experience is how storytelling and how to keep public interested in your idea and what you're trying to communicate, at the same time of working consciously on diplomacy and how to communicate that, always keeping aware of the objective, basically. I don't know if that surrounds a little bit of what happened, at least how I lived this today. Okay?
And how do you think you'll form a narrative and carry it with you moving forward? This message that you want to share with people as a diplomat?
Yeah, I'm not too sure if I follow the question, but basically what I think is being aware of who you are interacting with and keeping, again, focus on making interesting an interesting storytelling of what you, or as a tool of communication of what your goal wants to, of the goal you want to achieve, basically. Is that what it?
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for participating. The workshoppers, nice job. This is kind of an interesting thing to walk into. And then the last thing I wanted to do before we kind of wrap up, there are the QR codes to keep staying involved. This Bridge Atlas podcast is really neat. We had some great guests, including Trent over there, who spoke with Yancey Strickler, who founded Kickstarter and now works at MetaLabel. The other thing I wanted to do, it's just on YouTube. Yeah, you'll have to go over to the YouTube. Spotify soon. Yeah. The last thing I want to do is the facilitators. I'm curious what your takeaways were, like teaching these tools, how you think about them, if it's changed at all, any limitations you can foresee, any tips for using them moving forward. So final thoughts. You want to start, Michelle?
It was quite interesting to see how the answers were different depending on age, gender, region, cultural norms as well. And a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences. And the differences in group, because each group had very different dynamics, and I think that was fascinating. And just like the level of awareness and insight in general, I was impressed by that. was curious, and I don't have any preconceived notions, but that was pretty cool to experience, I guess. If you do want to explore that, I think a lot of you wanted to play the game, you can find it on the magazine. If you have any questions and you want to create your own version, that would be cool. One comment I got from 2 different groups was, this is a great game to get to know your colleagues that you're working with, and they would want to play this with them. So that was, my head is now, I've got some light bulbs and I'm thinking, oh wait, I've never thought about it in that context, but maybe that would be an interesting use case too.
Yeah, just
Go
Google
next.
protocol party.
Cool.
Summer protocols.
Yeah, so this was the Interstellar ELI, explained like I'm code switching exercise. I think the groups learned pretty quickly. I think initially I budgeted about 5 minutes for people to plan their things, but I think most people seem ready to go after a minute or just snapping into it. And I think quite a good amount of role play. People got into their roles pretty well and actually made it more interesting. And there was also a lot of learning from observing other people do it, not just doing it yourself. So like that's also really powerful. A lot of diplomacy, as Venkat noted this morning, is observing how people interact. And sometimes you notice gaps in communication better when you're not trying to be part of it and you're just watching and you're like, this is clearly going nowhere, right? These are really good learning moments. And I think having the groups as teams was also quite useful because they were able to, in some ways, I think the groups that came later on had already had some background and dynamic together. So cohort learning is actually pretty good as well, right? If you want to be a diplomat, maybe learning yourself isn't that necessary. Like finding a group of friends, even a small 3-4 people who read things together and try out fun exercises together is also a good way to do it. We had a vampire thing. It was like a nocturnal 500-year-old vampire. Yeah, we had a really exciting role play of a vampire earlier, which yeah, learn more about that later.
Yeah, I was just as I almost always am really impressed with how many stories people have and how many directions people's imaginations go when they're asked to sort of iterate on an idea. I found there's a lot of sort of natural inclination towards storytelling that was really positive to see. Something I noticed was in sort of going through in the storytelling workshop, there's kind of a downward flow to the thing of how often people would sort of go back to their earlier steps when they were visiting sort of the next step, which I thought was really an interesting insight into how sort of confronting the next problem in a narrative sometimes helps you refine what came before, which is what the process of revision and editing is, but it was just really interesting to see that in real time. And also just like people are working on such cool stuff. It was really nice to learn a bunch on my end about what people are doing. Yeah.
So I ran the capture session, and yeah, echoing what others said, it was really interesting to see how quickly people settle into these roles or grasp the assignment. I will say maybe a little bit concerning how quickly people understood the assignment to capture a resource. So, but jokes aside, or how well they were able to do this. But yeah, jokes aside, I think the best way to prepare for adversarial situations is to kind of put yourself in the shoes of what a malicious actor would do if they wanted to destroy a resource or kind of corrupt it for their own benefit. So at the end of the day, it's always healthy to try and understand what your adversary might be thinking. If you want to build a protocol that has benefits to public welfare, you really do need to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who might be against that vision. So yeah, I really enjoyed facilitating them and all the people who had interesting perspectives on how to corrupt public resources.
Very valuable moving forward. So yeah, grab the anthologies, join the Discord, subscribe to the magazine, and yeah, we'll see you online. There's a couple lost and found items up here. There's a leather jacket and a hotel key card for the Claridge Hotel.
Out of the anthologies, but tell them they can get the ebooks online.
we're out of the anthologies, except for the few that Spencer's hoarding over there, like a little dragon. But you can get the EPUBs online, on the Discord, and the protocol reader EPUB.